Hello everyone and welcome to another ICB webinar. My name is Elizabeth, I'm part of the ICB team and today you're joining us to talk about Xenon. So I'd like to introduce you to Gareth Salomon from Xenon. Hello Gareth.
Hello there. Thanks for having me.
And also a very familiar face to a lot of you is Lara Manton. She's one of our members. Good
Morning,
morning.
Elizabeth. Morning, Elizabeth. Nice to see both of you.
So before we get started, just a bit of housekeeping that you can ask questions as you go along, and also that this is being recorded, and we'll send out a recording afterwards. So, but please do say hello to us. Please let me know if you're hot enough and if you're wearing shorts in the office. That's absolutely fine, by the way, because it is going to get warm today. So, the reason we're here today is to talk about Xenon, and as part of our accreditation process at ICB, Lara has reviewed Xenon, which is a software which you're probably familiar with because that's why you're here today. We might have heard of. And so what we're going to do today is just talk about the product. It's a very single focused webinar for us today. So I'm going to start by asking Gareth just to talk a little bit about the product. And I was saying that I've got my notes here, and the top one is why, Gareth? Why? Why did you set up Xenon?
It's a great question. So hi everybody. I'm Gareth. I'm an accountant and a bookkeeper in practice. Have been since 2003, and I started my own practice up in 2010, which I've run until then, up until 2 years ago. And like many of you, I'm sure you spent many a year sifting through nominal ledgers, so repairs nominals, fixed asset nominals, age of debtors, age of creditors reports, looking for issues that need to be fixed. And it's not that I couldn't spot those issues. Like all of us, we're fully trained, ICB or otherwise, to spot those issues. But it's the time it takes to do it. And from time to time, depending on the size of the client and how busy I was, things can slip through the net. So I wanted some software designed so that it would essentially take the manual grunt work out of looking for those issues based on set criteria. So it automatically creates a checklist of potential issues that it flags up for your review as your, to use Lara's term, extra set of eyes, really, to make sure that nothing's slipping through the net. So everything's there for review for you to decide what you need to be doing with it. And at that point, you use your expertise to actually decide whether something needs fixing or if it's a false positive. So that's the why. It's to cut down that grunt work, make sure nothing's slipping through the net, to make sure that that bookkeeping as a result is as of high quality as it can be in the shortest amount of time.
Lara's review starts. It's impossible to be perfect. After all, we're only human, and so that's kind of backing up what you're saying there. And obviously, I'm aware of the fact that ICB members are superhuman, really, rather than human, because of their attention to detail. But Lara, you've used Xenon in your practice. What's it meant for you in terms of the quality of your work and how you service your clients?
Well, I think there's two bits. There's if I'm doing the bookkeeping, as I say, we all maybe put it to the wrong code. We put it to the code next to it. We're going through hundreds of items. We're looking at things, and there's a keying issue, or there's something all there, or we haven't picked up the VAT on it. There's something, or we've just it's the first new client to you, and you've done it slightly differently to how it was being done before. So that's then I go into Xenon and I look at it, certainly looking at it monthly or around specific deadlines, certainly around that quarter ends, those kind of times, and look at it and go, right, okay, what are the potentials? And then, as Gareth says, reviewing those and saying, right, okay, is this the right thing? Is this actually correct? And do potentially then historic things need changing? Is this one incorrect and I just need to move it slightly? There's always things around software and those things that go to places. And equally, if a client has been doing their own bookkeeping, it's a really good way of looking at what's happened and have things got there. You always end up with a fixed asset that's worth a tenner, and you're like, hang on, why is that in there, and those kind of things. So looking at from a cleanup perspective or a handover perspective, looking at how that works, and then from an ongoing perspective, looking at, right, okay, am I coding things to exactly the same place? And equally using it to kind of make sure there's no duplicate suppliers in the system, or setting supplier rules, so that going forward, ideally, each time you come into Xenon, there should be less and less issues going forward.
Okay, I see. So, and let's just go back to the basics then in terms of how you set it up. And Gareth, I don't know whether you want to share a view of it at the moment, but if I thought to myself, I want to have a try at this, how does it work? How do I get my client data? How does it connect? How does it make sure it's got real-time information and things like that?
Yeah, sure. So the connection process is really simple. You would sign up for a free partner account, and then you would have the ability to add one organization for free for life. So it would stay there forever. And it's just 4 or 5 clicks depending on the type of connection there. So Xero, QuickBooks Online, Free Agent, and actually Sage isn't quite live yet. It's live for me, but not yet. We're just doing the beta testing currently, but that'll be out in the next few days as well.
Right.
4 or 5 clicks just to authenticate the client, to say, this client I want to connect to Xenon. After that point, it will take probably about half an hour the first time, depending on the size of the client. And after that point, you will get to this checklist of issues. So there's nothing you need to do, no settings you have to change, although you can tweak things in the background if you want to after.
And you're going to give me all the assurance about the fact that my client data is safe and secure, can't be hacked, all those things.
Sure, yeah, we've got enough footer on the website. We've got a link to our PDF document, which explains exactly the rigorous process that we go through every year, but also ongoing protection there. As part of getting on, for example, the Xero App Store and things like that,
Yes, of
you
course.
need to have gone through these security processes anyway.
And
you've got
sorry,
and you've got 2FA enabled, haven't you, as well,
Sure.
Gareth?
Yes, yeah, it's in force.
I know it goes without saying, but it's very, very important, and you have to make sure that it's all all secure, don't you, as well? What am I looking at here, Gareth? What can I see? What's this doing for me here?
So this is the main heart of Xenon Connect. It's within one specific organization. It's a Xero connection we've got added here called Dragon Retail Limited. This is the main checklist. This is where it tends to make sense to people that haven't seen Xenon before, is what Xenon does, the main core feature of it. And it's this data quality assurance. We've got this health score here on the left-hand side. We've got the review period that we're looking at. And it's a very high level look at, okay, well, these are the types of problems that have been found. We've got a nice green tick if there's no problems in that category, or a nice exclamation mark if not, if something needs fixing. And it essentially acts as a checklist, a bit of a workflow to go through to make sure that for this specific period we're reviewing here, all the data in terms of these 24 different checks that Xenon provides currently has been considered, reviewed, and fixed as necessary. So if you've got team members as well, it's a great way of getting them involved and having this gamification with the score to actually reach 100%. If all these issues have been fixed or dismissed, that will be 100%. It's a tangible target. It makes life just that little bit more interesting. Not that I'm suggesting for 1 second that the bookkeeping and accounting world isn't interesting, but it just adds to that extra excitement.
In terms of, sorry, Lara, you talk.
Sorry, one of the things I was going to say was the first thing that's always interesting is doing the select period and realizing that you haven't. The one thing about Xero is obviously year end and lock dates, and because it just rolls on, and the amount of accounts I've come to, and the accountant's forgotten to lock it after the previous set of accounts as well. So that's always the first thing I check, is when it says select period, what's the lock date on the last set of on there. So you see 2020 they've got.
So we're a bit slack on this demo account. It's back in 2020, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
Okay.
and you can see that lock date on practice dashboard level as well. And you can see for all your clients in one place when that lock date's been set up to, or if it's been set at all on the right-hand side for all your clients. So it's got that bird's eye view of that too.
Lara, how do you use Xenon in terms of your day? When you log on in the morning, do you come and what's your process? Do you log on there and look at the health of your clients, or is it something you dip into?
It's something I dip into because I would normally reconcile what I can in the in Xero or wherever, and then so process via the OCR, reconcile what I can in the Xero, and then go into Xenon to say, right, okay, these are where there's potential issues or things I need to fix. So it's something that I will dip in and out of at various points of the month, and then, as I say, at various points, whether it's a year-end process, a quarter-end process, a month-end process, I will be kind of deep diving a bit more into that and looking at those transactions. And I think because you've got the ability to do a global resync, but you've also got the ability to sync other areas as needed. Sometimes I'll go in, fix a few things, and then sync that area and make sure that that's all cleaned up before moving on to the next thing. And I think there's priorities there. So you're looking at sort of duplicates, you're looking at miscodings, and then things like supplier rules and supplier duplicate suppliers. That's kind of more of an ad hoc thing that I'd be doing. So you're kind of working down, you're working down that list that Gareth was showing on the left hand toolbar in kind of that order, aren't you? You're looking at, and I know you can hide it so you can only see the ones that have potential issues. So you're looking at things, because there are, I mean, most of the software now has some built-in duplicate checkers, but what Xenon's duplicate checker does better is that it's not just looking at invoice numbers, it's looking at amounts, it's looking at dates, it's looking at other potential things. So it does actually pick up more duplicates. If someone sent, for example, a pro forma and then an invoice, Xenon's going to pick that up, whereas the software may not. So there's different things there, and it's really easy. Some of them I know you can fix directly from within Xenon, but everything else it's got a hyperlink straight back into the software, so you just kind of click log in and you're in the exact transaction that you need to fix. So I think it's that kind of, it's more of that kind of at specific points rather than at a daily basis. Although I've said that I would love a dashboard, I've got this idea in my head that would have, like, I could log on in the morning and have everyone's Xenon scores and all the kind of unreconciled, how many are in the OCR, how many are in Zero to reconcile, and Xenon's thing, and just get like a nice morning wake up overview of all of my clients. But I haven't got around to that yet. But I think it's
we all have our own dreams, Lara. We all have.
But it's one of those things that kind of, it allows you to see what you need to focus on and what you need to fix. And some things you might sit there and dismiss a bunch of things because and also I know you can set these for different things, like something like Amazon, it's going to flag, the first time I go in, it's going to flag that I've posted Amazon to 4 different accounts. Well, that's pretty traditional with Amazon, so we can ignore that supplier, so that next time we know, okay, Amazon's going to be posted to a bunch of different things. But if I've got a supplier where I'm normally posting every single bill to a specific code and there's a one-off, then that's something I know I need to go and have a look at and dig deeper into. And just being able to click in, view the transaction and go, yeah, well, actually it was a one-off in this case, or no, actually we do need to change that.
Okay. I think understanding how malleable it is my next question, really, in terms of when you had on the screen there, Gareth, you had things that are high importance and different levels of notification and things. Can you set those? Can you put your own limits and targets in?
Yeah, sure. So if I share again, so at the practice dashboard level, actually, we can see that now. There's lots of settings you can change. We've made it so that the settings are loaded out of the box. However, for example, you could turn data checks on or off for all clients at once here, if you wanted to at the practice dashboard level, or you can go into specific settings. So for example, we're looking at duplicate supplier bills before Lara's mentioning. You can change the sensitivity for all of your clients in one place now of what is deemed to be a potential duplicate. So there's lots of settings that you can change and make more or less sensitive and customize to the specific needs of that client, but you don't need to unless there's a particular reason that's something unique about that client, because it tends to work out of the box for most clients anyway.
Okay, I can see that's really valuable. Deb has just asked, do we need to obtain clients' permission to connect their Zero to Xenon?
So as far as I'm aware, obviously you'd want to have a look at your regulators' guidance as well regarding this. In terms of how it works generally is that when you've got access to, for example, the Zero organization anyway, there are terms and conditions within that agreement with Zero whereby third-party apps, it says, may be connected to the Zero account in that relationship. So it tends to be that most bookkeepers use it as an internal tool and the client never knows they're even using Xenon Connect. However, for your peace of mind, if you want to let them know that you'll be using a tool like Xenon, then a way of introducing that conversation is the fact that you can say, well, I need to create a proposal here for you. I need to give you an accurate proposal. In order to do that, I need to use this tool called Xenon that looks at the data issues, so I can give you an ironclad proposal that I won't have to change 3 weeks down the line once they get started on the bookkeeping in the future. And that tends to be a way that the client or potential client can then see the need for you to actually use Xenon.
I've got it set up in.
Lara.
Sorry, I've got it set up in my proposal system. So if it's internal, it's still there. It's a box tick, but it's not chargeable in certain cases. But if they want access to it, then for sort of the dashboard and a couple of bits, then I will then sort of charge them a fee for accessing Xenon. So they know either way that the internal one's turned on all the time, so they know that it's going to be used. But it's just that I haven't recharged it in that way.
Okay, so that was going to be my next thing that I wanted to ask you. Really, is how much, Lara, you use it to show your clients. Do you show your clients this, and or do you pick and choose? What can you do with that? Oh,
So I will show my clients. It will depend. So if a client's got an internal finance person and I'm supporting them, then I will normally give them access to the area that Gareth has just shown us. But it will be a case of, normally, as he's just done, it's kind of more of a, right, I've gone into the books, these are the issues. Certainly when you're taking things over, or if you've got someone that's kind of tweaking on their own without you really wanting to, you can kind of download and do this bit. But then there's another dashboard with some sort of sales metrics and things for them, and I will give them access if a client's looking at things, because things like that sales tracker, if they've got specific monthly sales targets, or they're looking at things like they've got a concern about how much their next VAT bill will be, or do they have enough for PAYE, I will give them access to kind of, or encourage them to use this on their own, as well as kind of, because it gives me, yes, you've got that information within Xero, and I know obviously Xero's now got the SIFT link, but some of this is just a really easy snapshot for people that don't want to be overwhelmed by the data, but they want to track one or two things. You can set the sales targets, you can set some notifications as well, can't you, Gareth, so that they kind of get an email or a notification in the system if they've kind of, for all these different things. So like, okay, what's their financial year, reminding them their financial years there, that they're kind of that they've hit their sales target for the month, all these kind of things, and give them a little bit of a dashboard from that perspective, even without doing the Xenon exact side of things. As I say, that's something that I would normally only give them access to if they've got an internal finance person that's kind of working alongside, I'm working alongside them.
I see. Claire Kendall mentioned that it's a good data cleanup when you first take a client on. It gives you that review of everything. So I'll be interested to see how other people are using it as well.
I think that's what Gareth said. If you get this connected at the point at which you've got a prospect coming to you and they say, right, okay, we haven't done the bookkeeping in X amount of months, or we've been doing it ourselves and we're a bit concerned, it's really good to be able to come on here, download that report that Gareth just showed and send them to them and go, right, okay, well, this is what it's found, and this is going to be my proposal to fix these issues, so that you're not going in blind with a client that goes, oh yeah, well, I've only got 10 transactions a month and they're all coded absolutely correctly, and you discover that they've cash coded everything to general expenses. Is like, okay, you can actually use this to kind of back up some data around that and say, right, okay, we're looking at, I can take over the unreconciled bank, but actually there's some things in here that you need to look at because I don't have that data or don't have that visibility on it.
And I think it's that trust piece, right? So if a client comes to us for a proposal, the chances are they're probably going to have to see a couple more bookkeepers. The idea that we can back up our figures and our proposals with stone cold data to say, okay, this is why we're charging this much. We've got the data quality report. These are the issues that need fixing. This is how much it's going to cost. And these are how many transactions you've had in the last 6 months or on a monthly average and so on. We can use these reports as a way of backing up what we're saying. It's not just saying, okay, I think it's going to take about 7 hours a week, therefore it's going to be this price. You're showing exactly why you're pricing as you're pricing. And it's that trust. That prospect potentially doesn't know you. They've never met you before. How are you going to stick above the other two bookkeepers that they're going for the same sort of proposal? And these sorts of things make you stick out, because the chances are that those other two bookkeepers won't be using Xenon. We've got about 850 firms using Xenon currently. But, you know, in your local area, the chances are that it's just you that will be producing this at that early stage there in that meeting. So it does make you stick out. And that's the feedback we've had from bookkeepers, is that it's really helpful to guide and steer the conversations during that initial meeting with potential clients as well.
And educate as well. There's an education piece that needs to be done around that, because you're getting the same sort of errors every time, or you're not getting certain pieces of information. It's really good to be able to go to clients and go, well, okay, we want your health score to be, ideally, I want all my health scores to be 85 plus. How do we help you get there? How do we get that? How do we make sure that if you're putting things in, or you're doing a little bit yourself, or you're giving me the right sorts of information and the right sorts of knowledge, and we're going through this. And for clients, one of the things that they might be doing a lot of themselves is raising invoices. And sometimes that's where it's one of those things that's like, right, okay, well, you've raised an invoice, but we've got 4 of the same for the same job to the same client. Hang on a second, let's make sure we're cleaning this up. Or credit notes that have never been applied, and all these kind of things are really good to kind of like, okay, we're going through things. You raised a credit note, but the client never took it off. Are you expecting to refund them? Are you expecting it to come off in a further future job? What's these? So there's points within here that are always discussion points with the client, because most of our clients, I would guess, most of my clients are raising their own sales invoices and sales credit notes. I might be dealing with 90% of it, but there's always going to be 1 or 2 that you can have discussion areas with the client on.
And the commercial marketeer in me will say that it's a great prospect tool as well, isn't it? Because you can say, you're not doing this very well, do you want me to do this for you next time?
Yeah, there's definitely some upsell. And actually, I've had that with a client this week who went, we've got someone who's an admin person, and we were concerned that things aren't getting reconciled, and they've got access to Xenon. And they've turned around and they've gone, Lara, would you actually, instead of just sort of doing a bit of hand holding, would you take it over? Because we're concerned that this figure isn't going up on our health score isn't going up on a monthly basis, and you're training her, but it's not going in. So actually, can we just hand it all over to you? So there is definitely some chance there for different upsell opportunities.
And just thinking about the health indicator is great at an annual review or something, isn't it? To say when we met last year, it was like this. I know you're speaking to your clients all the time, but if you can show that, it's like your personal credit check, isn't it? It looks exactly the same. You can track. It's very simple to track how you're doing on that. So it's really valuable. Sorry, a couple more questions, Lara, in terms of how you work with your clients. And I'm sorry if I missed this when you said it. So when you give clients access to it, you do recharge for that?
So if they're having access to Xenon, then I will recharge it I think there's a suggested, I tend to recharge it at the business rate, because there's obviously 2 prices in there, Gareth. There's a kind of bookkeeper practice rate, and if a business wanted to sign up to Xenon. So I tend to kind of recharge it slightly discounted off the business rate for them. But if I'm using it internally, then it's something that I've kind of bared the cost of, because I feel that it's that important to have. And equally, it's such a low cost for me. If we were talking £2-3 a month per client, then I can kind of, the amount of time I'm going to save is tenfold on that, probably 100-fold on that. So it's across a client base. So it's something that I'm fairly happy to kind of bear the cost of. But yes, if they want to view the dashboard or have access to this, then I would be recharging that to them.
And so Gareth, I hadn't thought about this before, but you obviously have the 2 channels that you have accountants and bookkeepers, and you have end users as well. Do you sell direct to people?
We do. We don't market that. It's on the website there. We've never pushed that side of things, because it's always it makes more sense for us to reach the bookkeeping or accounting firm directly. They get the most value out of it rather than an internal bookkeeper. However, we do have a number of it's in the low hundreds number of direct business owners or internal bookkeepers that want just access to one organization, so they've got that opportunity just to get access to it for just the one organization there too.
Yeah, well, we know as bookkeepers that there are hundreds of thousands of small businesses that need lots of support in their financial management. So it's a big thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then I just wanted to talk about the checklist and the areas that you came up with there, in terms of these are the things that you check. I don't know if it might be worth just making sure we can see them all on the screen so people can see what's there, because it's quite a lot, isn't it? Do you have to have all of these things? Are there new elements of a checklist that you're going to bring in? Talk to me a bit about the checklist.
Yeah, so recently we made it so you can turn specific checks off if you want to, either globally or at individual client level. So if something's not relevant for your client and you don't want to see things popping up, then you can turn it off, although they won't show if there's no issues anyway, as Lara mentioned before. Since the accreditation, I was looking earlier what we've done since then in terms of data checks. We've introduced 3 new checks. The first one is the opening balance differences check. So this is for limited companies, and it checks the net asset or liabilities figure from the balance sheet in the statutory accounts that have been filed already from the Companies House public API to what's showing up in the bookkeeping package. So if you've ever had a bit of a back and two with a firm of accountants regarding getting access to those opening balance journals after the statutory accounts have been filed, which can be a big problem, is what I've heard from bookkeepers, then this will prompt that conversation sooner, because it will tell you every time it syncs whether those statutory accounts, the balance sheet, matches the bookkeeping. So that's been introduced. And also some more VAT checks, so sales tax missing, if there's output VAT that's been missing on a transaction, and also purchase tax missing as well. So we've introduced these 3 new checks, and we've got more coming out. The next one will be, it's called unexpected balance. So what that will do is it will say, okay, well, we all know that double entry bookkeeping has got rules ingrained into it. So if it's a sales transaction, you'd expect the balance at the end of that period for the sales code to be a credit balance, or liability, you'd expect it to be a credit balance, or an asset, a debit, an expense debit, and so on. So every account code in Xero, based on chart of accounts, has got those rules or assumptions ingrained into them. So we're tapping into that to say, if that sales balance at the end of each month is not a credit, we're going to let you know about it because it's probably going to be an issue. Or if that net wages control account isn't a nil balance or a small credit balance, we're going to let you know about it. So that's the next one that's coming in. We've also had the free agent integration, which we're very excited to have had put in place since accreditation. And the next one is the Sage integration, which is in beta testing now with one firm of bookkeepers and accountants, and it'll be opened up wider very soon in the next few weeks as well. So it'll have all 4 main packages that are used in the UK connectable to Xenon by that point.
It's really exciting. Great. Okay. I was just going through the accreditation, because we do need to talk a little bit about some negatives as well. I just want to roll off Lara's benefits that she did mention, Gareth, the fact that you know about what it's like working in a practice, and how that's obviously driving the product, and you can see that because you understand what you're talking about, which is always really helpful. So the other benefits that Lara mentioned were about great customer service, which is great, how it enables you to show your worth and quantify it, and it's quick and simple to set up, so we can see all those things there. So let's talk a little bit about areas to improve, because we're going to make sure this is an honest review here. And Lara, I think some of these issues might have been solved already, because you talked in your accreditation about the free agent and Sage integrations, which you've just said are there. I'm just going to quote you here. One thing I missed from Jack's precision was the ability to link to Go Proposal to automatically pull in transactional informations. So we haven't got that. Have you got a way to overcome that in terms of your proposals?
Yeah, shall I answer this, Lara?
Yeah, if you want to show it's probably client panorama. If you
Yeah.
want to show that, it's a little bit more manual, and it's something I'm doing at the moment. So it doesn't pull in automatically, but there is the ability to get that information quite easily. And I think this is one of the things, as you see, if you've got the ability to do the packages and the color coding, whilst I can't pull that in automatically, I can jump into here and look at this from various ways. And Gareth's showing this quite clearly, that the Data and Software Limited D002 probably needs a price increase, because what their starter pack, what their package at the end is the colours on several of the quarters are considerably higher than that.
Yeah, so it's setting thresholds and being able to monitor all the transaction counts or turnover levels or bank activity only or bills only and invoices only at a glance for all of your clients that you've got connected to Xenon. In terms of the Go Proposal connection. We'd love to have that connection in place, and you know, we are talking with Sage about that, because we are now integrating the main Sage product as well. From a point of view of getting that data into Sage, it's always going to be the case that it's the bookkeeping package or the Go Proposal package that would pull in the data from us. We've made that data available to any software company that wants to connect. Engager are currently building that integration from their point of view now to actually power their proposal system and also their task system in terms of the data quality. And, you know, we welcome as many software packages, but it's very much outside our control whether somebody wants to build into us.
Yeah, Kirsty just mentioned that she's looking forward to the Engager integration. Yeah, but my first thought was always about practice management, really. And I think, yeah, you can see how this would sync really well with practice management packages as well, can't you? That would make a real difference.
Yeah.
Well, this is something as well that is really good from a scope creep, from a transaction volume basis. If you've got a client that their turnover's doubled in the last year, or something's happened and you're kind of in it, so you sort of know, but you can't you haven't been able to do it. I'm going through a process at the moment, or building into my thing, where if someone's sort of consistently is 3 months, average of 3 months, or for the quarter above their package or below their package, we're going to start looking at, right, okay, that fair usage policy of, right, for the last 3 months you've been considerably above the package that you're currently billing. This isn't just a one-off, this isn't a 1 month spike, this is a 3 month continual, so therefore we feel that you need to be, or I feel that you need to be on the next package up from a pricing basis. And I can send that report along with the proposal to say, this is where I've got my data from. I'm not just making this, I can show you that your transaction levels have increased and your turnover has increased, and actually maybe we need to be looking at where your package is. So you're not doing more work or doing kind of having more issues or whatever it may be from a basis and going to the client, well, actually, you're on the package you wanted a year ago, but actually your turnover's doubled and your transaction volume's doubled. You should be paying more for that.
This is great. Yeah, you can really see the value in that, aren't you? Michelle asked if it integrates with Ignition.
Not currently, no. Again, as many software that wants to plug into us, we'd love them to. We sort of don't create any barriers for that. Yeah.
And also, the product's only 5 years old, isn't it, Gareth? Is that correct?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, something popped up on LinkedIn yesterday, I think, to tell me it was 5 years old. Yes.
Yeah. Happy birthday. So things are moving really quickly in the software market, aren't they? So it'd be interesting to see how the integrations come around. Let's just quickly talk about value for money then. How does the package work for bookkeepers, Gareth?
Sure, yeah, I'll just pull up the website now for that. So we mentioned earlier that if you're an internal bookkeeper, then this is the route you'd want to go down in individual business. So it'd be £9 per month plus VAT, and you would get full access to the system for yourself for that one organisation. If you're working within a bookkeeping firm, then this pink area here tends to be the one that you would be looking at using. But what I'll mention, I think I touched on earlier, was that you've got the ability to connect one organisation for free for life. So it completely removes the risk in terms of adding your card details, for example, and paying out before you're happy that you're ready to use the system. So I always recommend get started with that one free one, use it for a few weeks or whatever, and then decide if you want to add a package. If you want to add a package, the starter package, it starts off essentially at £4 per organisation plus VAT on top of the one free that you get for life, and you get up to 10 team members. Now you get access to all the features. You'll notice that the price doesn't increase based on the size of the client. So it's a one fixed fee per organisation, client organisation that you're adding. And it goes down to what looks like a stressful situation of having more than 100 organisations connected in terms of the number of clients that you've got to deal with every month. £2 per month, essentially. But we've got, accountancy firms and some large bookkeeping practices that have got into the thousands of clients connected. So it's all £2 per organisation over and above 100 organisations there.
Monthly rolling contract discount for a 12-monther. Is that right?
Yeah, £10 discount for pay annually, but you can cancel at any point in time, or you can upgrade or downgrade at any point in time. I wanted to make sure that the pricing was everything that I wanted when I was in practice. So it's not having those long tie-ins that just create bad will, essentially, and then you start talking about it in a bad way to other firms.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
everything that pleases people, because it doesn't cost us anything. You might have some large shareholders in large firms saying, well, let's get them in for every pound we can, tie them in for a year or 2 years. But that's just not how I want to work. It's just keep everybody happy, so you speak positively about it and make it cost effective so that you can roll it out with all your clients if you choose to.
Yeah.
And I think that's great on that perspective. And I think you value what I think the bookkeeping community or the bookkeepers I've spoken to really love is that you value our feedback and our voices as well. I know we said the customer service is brilliant, but I know you're also open to kind of, if there's a few of us that have said, Gareth, can you build this in or look at tweaking this, or it would be really helpful. The amount of times I've dropped you a message and like 48 hours later I've got this has been built in already, or I'm working on this, which is great. It's really nice to see, have someone that responds in that way to sort of positive suggestions, or even things that are like, oh, actually I wish it would do this a little bit better. I know we've added in some color coding and some different things along the way, and I think that's really nice when you've got someone that's like, oh well, actually. And I think a few of us have done that, and it's nice to have someone say, well, I've had it with some people, well, you're not a big enough firm, why should we do that for you? And it's like, well, actually, as I always say to bookkeepers, raise it with your software providers, because if you want it, there's probably another bookkeeper out there that wants it. So I think that's
yeah, and right, and your bookkeepers, you're in it more regularly than accountants. You're using all these packages day to day. You're getting more experienced with the ins and outs and the quirks of software. You're the right people to listen to in terms of what you want to get out of the system. And I can say hand on heart that since we started Xenon, the ICB members have been the main driving force for the changes that we've made and improvements we've made within Xenon. And I've said that publicly. I'm happy to. It's just, it is the case because you've been so involved in the roadmap. And for that, thank you very much.
And they like to talk as well, don't they, ICB members? Know that?
Definitely.
Great.
Definitely.
Gareth, what is that over your shoulder?
Up there.
Corner, yeah. You need to stop sharing your screen so we can see it. In case anyone can see it. Who's that guy?
I need a bit of a better shelf with some lighting, don't I, for that? Just to really highlight it. Yeah. So last November, it was the Reporting and Analysis Luca Award that Xenon won. So we're very happy with that. It's a real honour. I mean, no more so than the fact that it's voted by the bookkeepers themselves and the ICB. It's really important to us, and it just shows that the amount of goodwill that we've created based on having these back and two conversations that we've just been talking about with bookkeepers over the last 4 or 5 years. It's been invaluable. But so it's been amazing. We've been after one for a number of years, and we finally got one last November. So really happy with that.
So on that note then, and Lara's probably got a couple over her shoulder as well, haven't you? I can see yours. That we'll be launching the 2025 Luca Awards early next week. And just as a reminder, there are Bookkeeper Awards, which we want you to, which is your time to shine. It's your time to nominate yourself. It's a very short application process, and then there's a judging process that goes alongside that. There are also software awards, so software vendors put themselves forward, and then it's an ICB member vote. So I ask for you today is think about entering an award. It's quite a straightforward process, and also take a look at the software nominations when they come out. Because if you like a software, then it's your chance to say and award the ones that are working with bookkeepers, the likes of Xenon, who are listening to you and making changes based on what you require. Lara, you've got a couple in the bag. It was quite a straightforward process for you.
Yeah, it's nerve-wracking to actually click the button and say put yourself out there, but yeah, I think it's straightforward. I always say it's a good way to review what's gone on in the last couple of years of business, because I think we're so heads down in our business helping our clients that sometimes it's nice to kind of take a step back and go, actually, this is what I've achieved, and put it down in paper. So I think, yeah, it's nerve-wracking when you're actually like putting yourself out there and then also waiting for shortlist to come out and find out whether you've got on them or not. But it's a good exercise, I always say, even if you don't end up with a Luca or a shortlist, it's a really good exercise to kind of review your business and the things you've achieved.
I mean, you could even use your Xenon health checks as part of your application for small, large, or medium. We've got a new category this year, medium practice. So even uses anything. And then my final thing really was that Gareth, you're going to be joining us on the 17th of November at the Bookkeepers Summit, aren't you?
Certainly. can't
The
wait.
Xenon team are going to be in the room where it happens. Lara, you're going to be there too. If you haven't been to the Bookkeeper Summit before, it's a bit different from your standard accounting conference, Lara, isn't it?
I think it's good because it's a blend of there's some of the exhibitors, some of the vendors you can go and have a chat to, but it's not quite so busy that you can actually have a proper discussion with someone or raise something and put some time aside between sessions. And then there's enough going on, but there's not so much going on that you're overwhelmed. You kind of get the keynotes, you can get those speakers, you can really listen and channel into that without feeling like you're zooming around a room trying to catch everyone for three minutes or whatever it is before you move on to the next one. And you get that brilliant community feel that we get with the ICB. So it's a great event to kind of catch up with everyone, see everyone. CPD, vendors, community, what else could you want for out of an event?
A great lunch, everybody.
A great lunch, yeah. We also
in
get
your
fed. You don't get that at other events. So.
The early bird ends in 2 weeks, 2 weeks tomorrow. So make sure you grab that. ICB members and non-members are welcome. Come along. Gareth, Laura, is there anything else you wanted to finish up with?
If I just put a link, if that's okay,
Yes, of
in the
course.
chat, just to, if anybody hasn't sort of added that one free organization for life, if you'd like to, then here is a link to how you can get started with that. So you just have a play about with it really and see what's going on.
And we'll make sure that that's included on the, I'm just going to copy that. Make sure that's included in the when we send the recording as well. So everyone's got that.
Thank you.
Okay, everyone, thank you very much for your time. I hope you managed to stay cool, perhaps close the curtains, and also I think you should all go and have an ice lolly after lunch. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks a
Bye-bye.
lot, everybody. Thanks a lot.